we're thinking the same thing. He says mentor, and you ask him, you go right for the mentor. So what is your specialty in the commercial?
Yeah, so I'm very niche, especially here in Las Vegas. So I specialize in office tenant representation. So I essentially take no listings, which, everybody wants to control the property. And I actually don't like doing that. I think landlords, they want biweekly reporting, and you got to show up, in a moment's notice to go show a space, and you'll have to show a space 10 times to hopefully get a deal done. And I'm totally opposite. So my job is to represent tenants of space, and, I understand what their needs are. We go and look at multiple properties, and then I negotiate on their behalf, essentially beating up the landlord as much as possible to look out for the tenant, lowest rent possible, most tenant improvements. And above and beyond that, it's talking about protections in the way of, what are the annual escalations? What are their audit rights? Are there termination rights? There's so many clauses that people don't think about when entering into a lease. And then on top of that, the landlord typically pays my commission. When they take a listing, they have a listing broker, and there's two, just like residential, there's kind of two commission setups. One is if you do both sides of the deal, and one is if there's an outside representation. So, we're considered that outside representation, but I run into people all the time, right? Where, hey, can you help me? I just signed my lease, and I'm like, I'd love to help you, but we got to talk when that thing's coming up for expiration. And it's crazy to me to see how many companies don't use representation or aren't aware of it. And I always say the biggest companies in the world, they do, and you should probably pay attention as to why they're using it. Again, my job is to look out for the little guy. So I really enjoy that. And it's, I think, a lot more entrepreneurial than being on the listing side. So, but what's crazy in Vegas is we're essentially the only tenant rep team here in town. In other markets, there's dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of them. But Vegas is such a small market and a hard barrier to entry into the business that, we've been able to really carve out a good niche.
So if someone signs a 5-year lease, when's a good time for them to start talking to you?
Yeah, so, we usually say, no later than 18 months, ideally 24 months, and that's typically a little bit early, but you at least want to start having the conversation and exploring the market. Today's actually a little bit different because Vegas is starting to see new development again for the first time in, over 10 years.
Yeah.
The new development really wasn't happening during the recession, and then all those vacancies had to fill up, and now you've got new development on the pipeline. And those are 2 years out from being completed. So, in 2 years, you're going to call me and be like, why aren't I in the cool, hot spot? Why didn't you tell me about this? Well, we had to sign a deal 2 years ago to get you in the cool, hot spot. Yeah. It's really, at least 2 years out. We get people all the time that call me, hey, I got a month before, I got to get my deal done. Typical negotiation time takes, 1 to 3 months to get a deal done from start to finish, if not longer. And then if you need build out, add 3 to 4 months to that. And it's a long process.